Welcome to the seminar on technological aspects which are going to measure toxicity, and they are going to be aware of toxicity surrounding the industries, surrounding the manufacturing units, surrounding the production units, etc. In the earlier lectures, we saw about some of the aspects of um, technological development which are failing to understand the toxicity which was already present in the soil layer of the earth. Now we want to see how these toxicity effects had been earlier detected by the systems. If you can see, some of the ways of detecting toxicity effects were getting the specimens of some animal wastes, getting specimens of the plant wastes from the soil, and then examining them in laboratory for some metallic and non-metallic contents. This is how they did before with the toxicity examination of the soil. They will take a sample of the soil, but sample of the entire soil they cannot take. What absorbs the particular toxins from the soil is going to be very important than the sample of the soil. So this is how they did. If you can see the sample, this is a very clean groundnut. It has not got any um, even it has not got any bacteria in it. It is very free from bacteria and any microorganisms, and it has got a good layer of sheath. If I open the sheath, you can see the inner layer of the groundnut, which is very clear, and you can see that it is white in color, very white in color. The tip of the groundnut is white in color, but this is not so in a particular groundnut which has got a sheath layer of skin. You can see that this is a contaminated groundnut. It has got some bacteria and also some absorbing some absorbents in it, which had been contaminated due to the soil contamination. And these absorbents are due to soil contamination. You can see the sheath of the groundnut. I can peel off this particular sheath. I can peel off this sheath, and you can see this particular groundnut is not white in color. You can see it is shining as if it is metallic, but it is also some color. Can you see the shining groundnut with light? You can see the shine of this particular groundnut, and it is not white in color. It is of some other color. You can see spots in the groundnut. So the layer of the protective um, sheath which is forming over groundnut is going to absorb, and it is going to try to restrict the absorbing capacity of the groundnut of any toxic elements from earth. And this is the nature of the groundnut plants. This is how they used to take seeds. They used to take some roots of the plants. They used to take animals which are in found nearby in industries nearby such regions, and they are going to rate the toxicity. But this is a old custom, and it is not going to help us anymore, because the more and more we take the um, affected organisms from the earth, it is going to cost much in the laboratory exercise, because they are going to be disinfected. It is very difficult to disinfect such specimens when we take the specimen samples and preserve it over the time. And it is not recommended that we spend much for the cost of maintaining the specimens which are rotten or which are bad in absorbing these toxins, and they are going to react further with some other chemicals and suck the good chemicals, and then we will be worn out of some good industrial chemicals for preserving or maintaining some specimens. This is what is costing the research labs more than what is being given as a cost. However, I am an individual, I am not a member of a research laboratory. However, I know that by practice I have seen a lot of such samples, as well as some other animals who had been very prominent in their nocturnal habitat. If you take lizards, lizards are of many types. You can see A simple green lizard, you can um, see the green lizard, which is very poisonous. If it bites, then it may cause a lot of headache. That means if the green lizard bites, then it won't bite automatically. It has not got a big tooth like what we think in the snakes. But when we say bite, its saliva or its contaminated saliva has got some mercury content in it and some nitric acid content. It is going to, when it is going to be absorbed by the legs or when it is going to be absorbed by the body, it is going to produce a lot of headache, and it has the ability to separate the membranes of the brain. We have the membranes of the brain, meninges. The meninges are protecting the brain internally. This is our head, which is covered by the skin, but internally it has got some meninges. Those meninges will be, they will be separated from the inner mucus layers. That means the mucus which is going to adhere to the meninges in small quantities, not in large quantities, that is going to be separated by the meninges. It will create a cranial meningitis. This is called as a cranial meningitis with the green lizard. And we have the garden lizard and the big lizards, which are very well trained in climbing mountains and rocks. So you can see some big lizards which can climb mountains and rocks. They are not going to bite, but when they see some fishes and corpses, they are going to bite them, and they are going to digest those particular prey they are going to feed upon. So what makes them feed upon, and what is digesting those particular complicated insects or animals which they prey upon? It is the acid content within them. They have got lot many acid content, which are good absorbers and reactors of some inorganic and organic mercury in it. And when they are found nearby the industrial wastes, they turn the garden big lizards, they turn into black color. And we can also have a look at chameleons. We have seen a lot of chameleons in the on the trees and on the um, say walls in some villages. The chameleons have got good beauty of absorbing nitric acid. They can take energy to their body directly by looking into the sun's heat. They will absorb sun's heat in the day and they will produce energy in their body. It is not mandatory that the chameleon needs to survive by eating only. They have got that much power in them. Chameleons are unique. And we have also got some house lizards. You can see house lizards, they are going to torture us by giving us a sound. When someone is not there in house, when we are alone at house, they are going to torture us by producing some sounds. But we have to take it with care, and they are not going to bite us anyway. Those lizards are like friends, but they have got a problem with their secretions inside their body. They have got sulfuric acid secretions. So their secretions are very harmful. Over the years, the sulfuric acid within them is going to cause a poison like chemical which is going to be emitted from them when we go near them. So we are not supposed to go near those lizards found in the houses also. So these reptilic study when they are alive, not when they are dead, is going to throw us much of information about the contamination found in air, contamination found in soil, especially. Contamination found in air may be detected by ourselves, but in the soil they detect. But we cannot always rely on those mammals, reptiles, and human beings for detecting contamination, because it is going to affect our health. For this reasons, we need to employ biosensors, biodetectors, and electronic detection systems. We have a scarcity of electronic viral and bacterial detector systems in South India, and this health check is not done for the human beings who are living in the South India due to poverty and unemployment. These are stated as big reasons in not providing the health check And this health check is also done as a security check during some immigration emergencies. Like we have seen the immigration emergency during the bird flu regime. When there was a bird flu regime, people in airports were obstructed and they were done severe health checks, and they were also given radiation dosages, and their reactions to radiation dosages were monitored, so as to indicate the bird flu presence in them. So this bird flu presence is going to be only tracked by electronic and biometric systems, which are going to scan our eyes fully, and it is going to take our internal organs, and they are going to looking for some isotopes which are injected into the body, and how the body reacts to such a phenomenon. So this is a big study. The detection of bird flu is a big study, um, which was taking the template of the garden lizard and the lizards found in the industrial suburbs, which are going to absorb these chemicals, say inorganic and organic metals, methyl mercury, mercury content in them, and it is going to change in color, it is going to change in the state, and it is going to change in the stature, giving us input that there is some contamination in the surrounding soil, and the layer of the soil which is going to contributing, it's going to contribute to their changes. This is what had happened even the detector systems, electronic detector systems, but they are very confined. The electronic detector systems, when they affirm that a person contains bird flu, then there is no question that it has to be treated. So afraid of this particular proof, that is a full proof, the detector systems were not deployed in South India at many outlets. If you can see, we can also see some outlets near embassies, outlets near government and judiciary premises, outlets near the healthcare centers, outlets near institutions, big organizations, research organizations, outlets near universities. No outlet contains such a bacterial or electronic viral detector which can throw light upon a particular individual, saying that this particular individual is contaminated or affected by such and such a virus or bacteria or even metal or toxic contamination. So because of this reason, the older versions of detecting the metal contaminants and toxic contaminants which are present in the food materials and other materials had been done in conventional pattern by examining the specimens, and this is even now in practice. But the non-deployment of electronic systems is a disadvantage to us. If you can see, tissue HG studies that have been done in the past without killing the sample animals had been done even in China. They had been done in many countries who had been researching these animals without killing them as a specimen. In Germany, you can find the laboratories where the snake venom had been taken from a lot of snakes. But in Germany, they used to kill many of the animals for their specimens or internal organ study. But in China, it was not so. They were these animals. They were kept alive and they had been studied for contamination for a long time. Even in India, the same thing is being done, but the study is not very formulated in the research laboratory. Rather, it is very natural, and one can say that it is like a colloquial language. It is not like a formal language of study. So we had to rely on the plant specimens, root of the plants, the stem of the plants, and the groundnuts or different types of seeds which are grown in some suburbs. So for those specimens could be studied so that they could provide less contamination to the research worker. Research worker cannot research more on leather products or muscles of crocodiles which are absorbing mercury and ammonia. If you take crocodile found in Crocodile Park in Chennai suburb. The crocodile park contains a lot of crocodiles with muscles which are going to absorb the mercury and ammonia in them. And crocodiles, they are going to radiate this ammonia and mercury. When someone goes near them, they get a foul smell and they cannot stand even near the crocodile park. It is due to that emanation. They may likely get infected out of the crocodiles, and they may go into a case of influenza in later stages. It may also lead to some ailments like syphilis and arthritis in the future. So these toxicity analysis were done in a more natural basis in South India rather than a formal basis. That was the problem, and lack of infrastructure relating to electronic systems. We have a lot many infrastructures set up in South India, but when it comes to health detection system and isolation of certain patients from the health detection systems, it was badly done due to two reasons: poverty and unemployment, which are stated, and they are found everywhere. Um, Despite the contamination of mercury in the soil. So, contamination of mercury may be one of the reasons for these two causes. And if you take some patients who were admitted in psychiatric asylums, there are a lot many psychiatric asylums found in United States. But there are some psychiatric asylums found even in India, South India especially. They were administered this isotopic drugs in them, which contain the coating of selenium compounds. If you take the drug administration for the psychiatric patients, they contain the selenium compounds which are coated on the tablets, and they were also given intravenous drugs which are going to alter the pressure on the meninges. The psychiatric patients need the pressure alteration on the meninges which are found inside the head, and the cerebrospinal fluid which is present inside the cranial cavities have to be maintained properly, but it is not possible in psychopathic pathetic condition patients found in some psychiatric asylums. Due to this reason, they are going to give them a selenium coated drug which is going to make them drowse. And if we can see the psychiatric condition patients, they are going to drowse for a long amount of time in a day. If divide the day into some 14 hours, in the 14 hours they are going to sleep for 9 hours a day. This is what had been seen with the psychopathic condition patients, even in Chennai and some cities which supported the mental health to the core. Shedding off all the oppositions, Chennai had got a good mental health facility. But the alarming rise in such patients uh, had brought the electronic systems under emergency. Because of this, the psychopathic patients were made so sensitive by administering such drugs. So these had um, affinity towards toxic substances like arsenic, lead, and mercury. When these patients could absorb such toxic substances, they used to be very sensitive to heat, pressure, and temperature changes around them. But those sensitivity were suppressed by the selenium coated compounds and some drugs, narcotic drugs, which were administered inside them so that they could sleep for more hours. If they are awake for more hours, they will be very sensitive to rise and fall in temperatures. Like the garden lizard, like the lizard which was found near the industrial units. This was a much alarming outcome, and it is not a outcome to be appreciated. And these psychopathic patients conditioned were also very subjective to anxiety disorder. That means what is going to happen next, what is going to happen in other person's arena, other person's environment, where bothering them too much, so they were deployed or employed, um, hiding the fact that they were in psychopathetic condition in many rehabilitation centers, so as to monitor the security, or so as to monitor some conditions prevailing in some other area. So they were kept in monitoring area closer to securities, so that they can watch what other people do, what other people suffer, or other people are going to do in a particular environment. So this was the way to get their mind trained, so as to avoid them to sleep for more hours. This was done as a matter of scanning their radiative mechanism of the head phantom. The head phantom was completely scanned using resonance scanning in medical imaging and medical technology, and they were trained to such work in the environment. But this was biggest failure um, because of the deployment of human beings under such conditions for monitoring purposes, because we need automation systems, automated electronic systems for such purposes. We do not need human beings which are going to monitor human beings who are going to monitor the risk of hazards, or who are going to monitor the risks in some industries. We need complete automation systems which have to be taken as primary, and these few persons can be put as secondary persons. It is not fair to rely every time on our colloquial sense. We need to advance in the industrial sense and scientific and technological sense in addressing the specific problem of contamination. You can see the solar panels. I can show you the solar panels. Um, these solar panels are containing lot many matrices. They are going to be green natural energy producers. They are going to convert the solar energy into a high voltage energy which can be utilized by a particular building to energize the light bulbs, fans, etc. And they are going to be utilized for the water heaters. But how the solar panels are made is a shocking news, because the compounds which are containing inside the solar panels are not green. They are not going to be um, sophisticating the natural health conditions of a particular society. The compounds which are also used in solar panels as photonic and electrical compounds are at high risk. They are from some ionic wastes. When the solar panels are worn out and they are recycled, they are not going to go inside the soil, they are going to go as ionic wastes. That means they are going to ionize and produce electrical radiations from within the soil, like we see in the mercury contamination, and also the place where lizards and snakes are found in abundance. The night soil, the soil at night time, it is going to radiate much of heat and some ionic radiation in such places, compared to the soil found in some other places near rivers or so. So this is going to create a lot of health problems for the persons who are living in the surrounding area. Um, all the time, persons living in surrounding area cannot be asked to migrate to some other area, and this becomes a problem due to acute weather conditions. Persons cannot migrate to places where weather conditions are absurd, and there is always rainy, they are always say hot all through the year. So persons cannot migrate to such areas if they are found to be living in contaminated areas. This raised the problem for the entire society. It is totally unmanageable. But why it is so? Because we can find news um, regarding the statistics of some health factors. people know that there is contamination, there is lot of infectious organisms, there is a bird flu outage, and still when it attacks the people, they do not know where it is going to attack, and the result is the potential risk of the people which are affected. You can see the risk is the heart attack. I can The heart attack is not going to be due to reading the news or hearing the news that people are attacked. The heart attack is a physical attack. It is a physical damage to the heart due to inhalations of some substances over the years, or absorbing some inorganic compounds, toxic compounds like lead, arsenic, or methyl mercury compounds within the body due to consumption of meat like fish. We see the heart diseases. It says that the heart diseases are found in a particular state in South India um, more when compared to persons living in North India closer to perennial rivers. Um, in South India, we have the seasonal rivers, but in certain places, the river soil is free from some contaminants. But we cannot rely on the river soil forever, because water content of the particular river is very important in determining the freshness or in determining the recycling process by which we can survive. So this is a constraint in South India. However, the most watery place in South India, nearby Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, which is Kerala, it is a green place, is also suffering from a high risk of heart disease. It is only due to the consumption of more seafoods like fishes, or freshwater foods like fishes, toads, turtles, and prawns, etc. They feed on such foods for their livelihood, which are absorbing some metallic compounds from the soil, and it is unavoidable that you can separate the metallic compounds from meat products, due to which they are finding themselves in trouble, and the heart diseases are due to such process. Why I emphasize much, because no electronic systems, detection systems have helped us so far in identifying the risks, unless and until there is a massive damage to the group of people. Either they may die as a group, say in numbers, 20s or 30s or 200s, or they may get infected and admitted to hospital in mass numbers like 40s or 50s due to some food poisoning, etc. Only if this happens, then emergency detection systems can be deployed from security sources. However, we cannot expect all the time the service equivalent to security sources. Because of this reason, the advancement in electronic systems, detectable systems, is seen as a question in South India compared to United States, which has got some drug administration detectable systems in them, and we have also got some detectable systems in Apollo healthcare centers, Apollo hospitals, etc. But uh, they are very high-end systems, very high-cost systems, which infected person or affected person can never meet at all in lifetime. So these electronic systems, which are capable of detecting toxic compounds, capable of detecting metallic granules in a particular specimen, were avoided. Rather, chemical post specimen or post processing system were utilized in India, South India, for a while. And even now, we have a lot of chemical systems, bioanalyzers, gas analyzers, etc., due to which the true detection of toxicity is not documented properly. Even though we can see some documents from the newspapers and events, or in the clinical laboratories, on some Tehsildar offices or collector offices which maintain some venom, anti-venoms in them, and some good medicines for assisting people. But these are not going to help us in near future due to contamination. You can see some news, say few kids were affected by emanation of toxin from the snake found on the tree. The snake has got nitric acid contents on it. When it spills the nitric acid, it is going to reach the kid's forehead or hair or even the body, and it is going to decolorize the hair or body. Once it decolorizes, this particular venom is going to be absorbed by the internal organs, and it is going to reach the meninges because it is going to drop on the forehead or head. It is going to reach the meninges. If it is on the foot or hand, then it would not have impacted the kids so much because it was on the forehead. The spill was on the forehead. It was absorbed by the meninges quickly, due to which they might have got severe headache and got admitted to hospitals, and they might be bedridden. Similarly, the contamination of the toxins spills are going to be readily important to which part of the body is going to absorb the particular toxin and how the human being is exposed to particular toxic material. Whether his hands are going to be exposed to toxic material or his head and eyes are going to be exposed to toxic material is very important. And this is not seen as a groundwork into such. Even though a lot of advices or a lot of statements might have got in the newspapers, TVs regarding the health, but we need foolproof systems, electronic detector systems, and assistance systems for this purpose. We also have got a lot of such systems in practice across the world, but as I said, the extent of toxicity is going to be varied. And if you take the Brazil and Amazon region, it has got most venomous snake in that particular region. It may be a python, but the python has got the mercury absorption in it. The python is one such snake which has got a lot of mercury contents in it, inorganic mercury. When it is going to react with bacteria, the bacteria is going to split that inorganic mercury into methyl mercury. The methyl mercury is going to be emanated from the body of the python. The python is going to radiate methyl mercury wherever the python resides, in the pits or in some hollows or even some burrows. It is going to radiate the methyl mercury, and one might not know that python is living there. One might not identify it because it is very intelligent animal compared to other snakes or other reptiles. Python has got a nocturnal sense of identifying human beings very quickly. It can radiate, the python radiates a particular chemical compound and radio wave, and it can detect that a particular object or human being is present in the vicinity. And by this nature, it comes to know that the object shape and size is going to be of this limitation. It can also assess the height and weight of the individual by its radio sense and chemosense. But methyl mercury is the compound emitted from the python as a gas. It is going to, when it is going to be inhaled by the persons, it is going to affect their lungs to core. Hence, we need to take care that even though we are living with all these organisms will not die. They are going to be there underground anyway. If you take 5 houses in random, at least the pit found underneath the house of one in a row is going to contain a python. This is normally seen in Chennai suburbs. It is normally seen in almost many areas of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. Tamil Nadu and Karnataka are abundant in the pythons and king cobras. King cobras are venomous snakes. Similarly, Brazil is one such country which has got lot many lethal varieties of animals, and the samples from Brazil in a particular research done um, has got some data which was showcased in internet that the Hg concentrations, that is mercury concentrations in keratinized, can be correlated to the Hg concentrations in other tissues of freshwater turtle species. So they took the freshwater turtle species and they wanted to study the original mercury concentration, and what they did is the Hg concentration of keratinized specimens, they wanted to compare both the concentration to see what toxic effect they have done really when they are really absorbed by the internal organs or even the eyes of a particular mammal or so, or even the brain of the particular mammal or brain of the human being also in such severe cases. This was done by the Brazilian research study, and reptiles had been used as biomonitors for a long time. It is not very unusual that reptiles were not utilized by human beings for good purpose. They had been utilized for many good purpose. The regulatory agencies for international trade in reptiles are doing this particular research. They are going to create a biome or a natural zoological park with reptiles. For this purpose, the regulatory agencies, international regulatory agencies for reptiles trade, had been involved in such research, but it is no replacement for a electronic detector system and monitoring system which is going to protect the individuals, protect the engineers, protect the data scientists, and protect the researchers from contamination and giving their life for the soil. It is not wanted that a particular researcher has to give his own life for the soil for the sake of soil contamination. Electronic systems advantages, the developmental needs in protecting the healthcare systems and also protecting the healthcare wastes. If you see the wastes, carcinogenated or incinerated wastes from a hospital management system, they are immense. One patient is going to contribute to almost big ton of such waste, and they have to be disposed. They cannot be reused at all. So reusable wastes are not found in hospital management systems. Only incinerated wastes are found. When these wastes are incinerated, they are going to be radioactive or radiative, and over long periods of time, soil which is going to take care of this incineration are going to convert this particular soil into a radioactive soil, which one might not know, but the farmers, but the persons who are growing the seeds and who are planting trees there are going to detect that particular contamination. They can very well see vividly that or clearly with the plants and seeds sown there, it is going to contaminate. Second thing is there is a very shocking news about the combination of certain products or compounds which are going to result in sudden fire emissions. If you can see sudden fire emissions which are occurring, fire emissions can occur due to gasoline, it can occur due to petroleum products, it can occur due to kerosene, it can also occur due to some petroleum gases or some wood or coal materials or even firecrackers, but it is unobvious to see some unique fire which are going to be spread into massive fires due to the combination of methyl compounds and snakes involved in such accidents. The snakes are methyl absorbers, methyl mercury absorbers, or even poisonous gas absorbers in a particular locality. For example, in a backyard of the house, or even houses found in the country yards, they may be prone to sudden fire due to the reaction of these particular snake emissions along with petroleum products. If petroleum products are found in those regions, they may combine and then they may get involved in spreading the fire. The fire might have been very minimum and it could have been extinguished, but due to some unethical principles or ignorance of the people or the masses or individual, the fire might have spread into a big fire. If you can see, there is one another case of fire. This is one another case of fire where the person accidentally burnt his own home due to the presence of a snake which was emanating a particular gas which was smelling like methane or methyl compound gas. It would emit a gas of similar nature to that of a liquid petroleum gas emissions, so that the person may think that it is a product of liquid petroleum gas nearby. What this person had done, he had poured gasoline, or he had poured a petroleum product to evade the snake. Snakes are not good with the petroleum products. When the petroleum product is poured on the snake, it is going to be burnt immediately because of the venom. The venom is going to react with that petroleum product and they may die. This is what the person thought, but what had been done, due to large amounts of emission of methyl mercury, the snake was not that much poisonous, but it was more or less like a python. So it had got a lot of methyl mercury contents which combined with the gasoline poured by that person, and that was the result of the fire burn, massive fire burn, which has destroyed the house completely. So we can't see all these news as wonders, and we cannot ignore our electronic detection systems and electronic surveillance systems also. We have electronic surveillance and radio surveillance systems and electronic detection systems, electronic monitoring systems, which have to be in place compared to other industrial development, other chemical development systems, or even food processing systems. Food processing systems, industrial development, chemical laboratories, healthcare centers are ignoring the congregation of electronic systems, because once electronic systems are utilized in this particular development, the outcome of the electronic systems may impose many sanctions on these particular industries as well as food processing industries. Due to the fear of such sanctions imposed, the industries which are very much important for healthcare of human individual. Electronic industry is not going to be responsible for healthcare, because electronic product cannot be consumed by a human being physically. Electronic product cannot be inhaled by a human being physically, but other industries are going to be the physical consumable contributors for the individuals. So sanctions on emissions or location of particular industry, or non-availability of recyclable units, or even recruitment process concerning health of individuals are brought by electronic systems throughout the world. Because of this nature, the electronic systems are discouraged by lot many industrial development found in South India, even in many places nearby United States, which are manipulating their manual labor with those found in psychiatric asylums, or asylums related to rehabilitation centers of war criminals and criminals. So this is a big problem throughout the world um, in assessing the proper health, even to big organizations like WHO, World Health Organization. World Health Organization has got all the reports of such calamities, such accidents, incidents, and the number of persons affected by such incidents. And this report is not going to make us unaware of such incidents, but how it is going to help us in future, which has been thought much. So electronic radio surveillance systems, detection systems have to be bold enough in overcoming the opposition brought by the industries due to the fear of sanctions which the electronic systems may impose. This fear have to be overcome by them, but they cannot overcome the fear. So boldly the electronic companies and electronic systems have to be deployed, overcoming the industries, overcoming other allied industries, so that it may aid to the human health development. Human health index or health development index, HDI, is very important for a particular regional development, and it is being ignored. The HDI is going to be the milestone of a technological development. So technology has to aim at HDI. Thank you very much for watching.